had another very busy week here on the farm. We just have so much going on this time of year. We still have pigs and chicken that we're raising on pasture, and we also have our fall group of cows all starting to calve. So that's just been an extra daily chore, just keeping a really good close eye on them. And then on top of all of that, the group of calves that were born in spring of 2024 are now ready to be harvested. So we raise our cattle for local customers in quarter and half beef portions, and we also reserve enough inventory to go to farmers markets and to be able to offer beef online as well. So this group of cattle is now ready to be processed, and that just adds an extra chore because we're taking meat to the processor pretty regularly, about once a week this time of year, and there's just a lot of extra going on behind the scenes with emails and going over cut orders, things like that. So as I go about doing these chores today, I thought it would be neat to share with you guys more about our farm story and how this business came to be and how I was able to purchase this land when I was 21 years old. I purchased this farm from my grandpa. He owned it for a long time before me, and he used it mostly just for summer pastures for his cattle. So he had a big farm kind of far away from this one where he ran quite a few head of cattle, and then every summer he would just bring cows out here to graze the pastures, but it wasn't super close to where he lived and his home farm. And then when I was 18 and I graduated from high school, he was getting older and unable to come up here by himself. So I would drive him up here a few days a week to help him take care of the cows and just check on everything. And I learned so much by doing that. And we both really just enjoyed that time together. And we did that for a few years, and we actually split the profits from the farm, 2/3 his, 1/3 me. And he did that because he really appreciated that I was coming up and helping him to continue to have cows because he was older and he wasn't really sure that he could keep the cows, but because I was able to drive him up here and help him with everything, it was something that he enjoyed, and he really wasn't looking for the money from the cattle, so he just split it with me. And then there were some days that I would come up by myself to take care of things, but during all that time, I really realized how much I loved this farm in particular, and I loved taking care of the livestock. My grandpa also owned a family business. It was a feed and grain elevator that eventually my dad and uncles took over. So I was working there out of high school and coming up with my grandpa those few days a week and working on the farm as well. And there was one day that my grandpa came down to the feed store and he had an article in his hand that he wanted me to read. And the article was about a USDA loan program where they help new and beginning farmers purchase land by offering really good loan terms. So my grandpa asked if I would be interested in learning more about that program and then possibly buying the farm from him. So, of course, I was very excited for the opportunity and eager to move forward with it. And my mom and dad were both very supportive of that as well. So I went to my local USDA office and learned all there was to know about this program and how we would be able to move forward with me purchasing this land from my grandpa. was 20 years old when we started this process, and it was kind of a long process. There was just a lot of paperwork to fill out to go through that program, but luckily I was buying the ground from my grandpa, so we could take the time with no fear of it being sold before we got it all done, and we were able to work out all the kinks because I had to present to the USDA my business plan for this farm just to make sure that the numbers would all work out before purchasing it. And at the time, we were operating on the commodity market, which means we were just raising calves, weaning them off of the mama cow, and then taking them to the local sale barn. Whatever price we got for them at the sale barn is just the money that we made that year. So I had to present that business plan to them and make sure that the numbers would all work out for me to purchase the farm. And at that time, I really didn't have any plans to switch up my business plan and how I sell my cattle. So I had to use their numbers and the livestock sale barn numbers to make this all work. And at the time, it looked like on paper it was going to be tough, but I was just so naive that I had no fear that this wouldn't work out. And I just wanted to do whatever it would take to close on the land and own this farm. Luckily, when I closed on the farm and started doing this on my own, the cattle market was pretty high. So I was getting pretty good prices for my calves that I was taking to the sale barn. So for the first couple years, that payment was pretty easy to make. But then the cattle market shifted downward, and I was having to really work hard and throw a lot of my personal income towards the farm and not just what I was making off the cattle, because I wasn't making enough to cover it all. And I realized then that something had to change, because to be able to sustain this long term wasn't going to work out. During that time, when I was just getting started a couple years in and trying to learn how to navigate owning my own farm and making these payments, land came up for sale all around my farm. And fortunately, my parents were able to purchase that land. So together, me and my dad were able to expand our cattle herd because we had more grazing acres now. But we realized that we needed to address the way we were selling our cattle. Instead of just weaning the calves and selling them at the local sale barn, we decided we needed to take a different route with marketing in order for this to all work out. And we came to the conclusion that we are raising a very sellable product. We're raising beef, and it's something that a lot of people eat every day. So we decided that we would hold back that year's group of calves and we would not sell them at the sale barn, but we would finish them out ourselves to sell directly to consumer. That was a hard decision for me to make, because that would mean I would have no sales that year. So I had to put up a lot of money in order to make my land payment and hold back that group of calves and feed them out to hopefully sell them. But I decided that was the long-term solution that I needed to make this all work. And it was just going to be tough for a couple years as I transitioned into that. We really weren't sure how many we would be able to sell that way, but we decided to keep the entire group and just to go for it. And it turned out that 2020 was the year that we had our first beef ready to market to local customers. As we all know, that was a scary year for everybody, and so many people were looking to have their own food security. So selling the beef was absolutely no issue that year, but trying to get it all into the local butcher shops was very challenging. And I realized really quickly that I dove into something without really knowing enough about it. But fortunately, we were able to make it work out, and we supplied beef to over 100 families that year. That is when we knew we were on the right path with direct-to-consumer sales, and that was the direction that we wanted to take the farm. There is a lot more to this story with how we market our animals now, practices that we do on the farm, and how we raise all of our animals. And I plan to share all of that in my video next week. So if you found this interesting, I hope you watch next week for my farm story part 2. Thank you so much for watching.